giving the introduction?
I will give a small introduction to the audience and then we can start.
Okay, so just let me know when to start. Okay. Fine.
So good evening, everyone. Thank you for registering with Kerala Startup Mission. Today is the 9th day of Inspire to Innovate webinar series, where we have Ms. Anisha Cherian, Director, Chemanur Academy and Systems Private Limited. She has found out of a busy schedule to inspire you to innovate with her knowledge and experience on today's topic, Art of Storytelling. So today's session is co-hosted by Sahridaya College of Engineering and Technology. A special thanks to the IEDC team there and the nodal officer, Mrs. Jibin Joseph. So Inspire to Innovate is conceived to engage the student community during this lockdown period. Any interested individuals can attend the session. Every day will be a 40 minutes knowledge-packed interactive session where key speakers, including startup founders, academicians, and industry leaders, will share their knowledge and experience. So the webinar schedule today will be a 40-minute session. So you can type your questions in the Q&A box below the screen. I would request each of you to take this opportunity to connect with her and make the most out of this session. On behalf of Kerala Startup Mission, I would really like to formally invite Anisha to take over this session. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll just give you, thank you for the introduction. Anyway, I'll also give you a very brief introduction. Today, I'll be covering my entrepreneurial journey about, my business and, the way I've taken it forward. To give you a brief background, I grew up in a business family. So business was not new to me. We, the terminologies used in business, we watched all that growing up. So for me, initiating into business also was quite easy, or at least I thought business was easy. I started off working with my father. In fact, there is a very interesting story there. After I got out of college, I did my bachelor's in business management. After I got out of college, I spoke to my father. I said, I wanted to do a master's. And he got back to me. He said, why do you want to do a master's? You join me in my business and I will teach you more than an MBA can teach you. And at that point, it occurred to me that yes, most probably I will learn more from my father. So I decided to, join him. And then to start to work with him, I had this discussion. I said, let's talk about salary. I should be earning a good, salary. And then he asked me this question, what do you think you're worth? So I explained to him all the great things that I did in college. I was head of the speech and debate club, and I was college magazine editor, and I conducted the management fest, and I gave him a whole list of activities and, accomplishments that I did in college. And then he looked at me and he said, is that what you think you have value when you come in for real work? And I said, I didn't understand that question. So he asked me to do an exercise. He said, you can join me on the condition that you attend 5 interviews. Okay, look into the newspaper, go to the wanted list and attend 5 interviews. And whichever salary that you get the most, that is a salary I will offer you. So I actually went through that exercise. I went and attended 5 interviews. And that is when the reality struck, when I came to understand what my real value is in the market. And then when I went back to my father, I spoke to him and I said, I don't want any salary. I will work free for you, because I was so embarrassed about the salary that was offered to me that I could not tell him what that salary was. Anyway, the next 3 years, I worked for him. Definitely there was no salary, but it was one of my most, my biggest learning experience, because I learned everything in business from him. And then later on, I got married. I moved to Kochi. And 2 years after my son was born, I decided to start Chemanur Academy. That is because of my interest and passion in training. Also, I had a deep interest in human relations or human capital. I love dealing with people. So I was not interested in selling jewelry. I wanted to get into the line of training and education. And with that in mind, we bought 2 AppTech training centers, and that is how we got into the education field. So this was started in 2002. Within 1 year, there was this news about this huge shortage of nurses in the United States. In fact, this was a suggestion given to me by my husband. He said, why don't you, send nurses to the US? There's a shortage there. So with that in mind, we started, what are the eligibilities? What is the requirements? What exams do these nurses need to pass? How do we send them to the US? What is the immigration formalities? We put a lot of effort and started studying into all this because nobody had done it before. There was no precedent on what to do, how to do, why to do, when to do, nothing. So that is what you mean by a pioneer. You're starting something from fresh and there is nothing to fall back on. So we went ahead, we decided to do that. And it was through trial and error. We learned the business. We went through a lot of ups and downs, but I have to say that within 1.5 years, we became the #1 trainer in India for NCLEX for nurses. We had the highest pass result in the industry, which was averaging 60% pass, while the India average was only 20 to 25% pass. So this was a huge accomplishment, and the company really grew. Within 2 years, we had competition from all the multinational companies, but we held our ground and we were #1 in that field. And then later on, we added on other products. We took the international recruiting license, and then we started that also. By 2007, we had about 11 training centers. We had about 60 plus staff. The business was really booming. We were #1 in that industry. And then one fine morning in 2007, I remember sometime in November, a news came out that the PR visas, the permanent resident visas for all categories, including nurses, has been stopped. For me, that was such a shock because my entire business was built on a single product. And we had become #1 in the industry. It was a fantastic missionary that was running so well, and we were doing so well. And this news was a huge shock because since your whole business is built on that, and then there are no visas, it is as good as the cold cards tumbling down. It also was my greatest learning experience because when you fall is when you actually learn. And in 2007, when the crash happened, not just me, all the competitors, we expected that the visas to be released. So we continued. We had about 1,000 odd nurses who were training with us. This entire process was free to the candidate. We get paid only when the candidate reaches the United States. So at that stage, I had huge receivables that was pending or that was outstanding and not yet paid. And I have 11 training centers. We have all these candidates studying. And in that scenario, I had to deal with this crisis. So it was a huge learning experience. I held on to my centers. I thought the visas will be released. And for the next 2 years, we struggled and we held on. It was one of the biggest mistakes that I ever made. That is because we always have the hope that things will change, that the scenario will change. And because of that, you tend to hold on to what you have or what you have built. And that is a big mistake because you're continuously incurring overheads. The visas never got released. But in between, I did add on other products. We tried to hold out. In fact, we picked up a very insignificant product and we increased the sales 6 times, another training product. But still, it could not justify the overheads. What is the lessons that I learned from this experience? One, the importance of cash flow management. My father always told me that 10,000 rupees today is more valuable than 1 lakh after 6 months. I didn't understand that, but in 2007, I understood that because we had huge receivables, invoice receivables, which became outstanding and eventually never got paid. The next biggest lesson that I learned is about stop loss order. Do not incur overheads hoping things will change. because you're continuously, adding on cost. You need to stop the loss. And you need to cut down on cost. You need to cut down on your centers. You need to cut down on your overheads. And by 2011, yes, I did that. I had no option. I had to cut down on my costs. And in 2012, we got a huge project from Accenture, the BPO Accenture. They came to know that, we had the highest pass results for training nurses in NCLEX. So they gave us a huge project whereby we had to source candidates, train them, make them clear certain exams, and then they could join Accenture in Bangalore. And it was a huge learning experience for me dealing with an MNC. MNCs teach you, they teach you the importance of efficiency. And I can narrate an incident which I experienced with Accenture. That is, the entire documentation process of doing this exam approximately takes about 6 months. And this is, we've done it for 10 years, so we know it takes 6 months. When we got into this project with Accenture got back to us and told us, no, you cannot take 6 months. You have to complete the project, or you have to do complete the documentation within 4 months. And I said, it's not possible. I said, 10 years of experience, and I'm telling you, it's not possible. It cannot be done. We had 2 of those guys who flew to Kochi. They sat in my office on a whiteboard. They went day 1, day 2, day 3. They cut wherever possible. And they showed me through a process how it was possible to make 6 months into 4 months. I was still skeptical. I said, no, we have to try. And the amazing part was we tried, and we were able to do the complete documentation within 3 months. So one aspect which we all need to remember is, we limit our possibilities. We limit our possibilities because in our mind, we have limited them. Anything and everything is possible if we put our mind to it, and if we focus on the details, this is what I learned from an MNC. Over the last 1 decade, now we are focused on mainly 3 verticals. We do international recruitments. We also have leadership training for companies, and HR consultancy, where we focus on learning and development. In regarding to these 3 verticals, in regarding to international recruitments, we have a large number of schools in GCC. We are the largest recruiter for money exchange companies. We deal with multiple multinationals where we do recruitments for large companies like Landmark, big MNCs. In regarding to leadership training, what we do is we take long-term projects like 6 months to 1 year projects, and we first identify gaps. We first identify what are the need of that company, and then we create a training model. We execute the training, and we also monitor the actual implementation of those principles. And that is why the entire program, we don't do 1 day, 2 day programs. We do 6 months to 1 year, because only then we can execute, or we can monitor the execution of the principles in the training. Then the third vertical which we focus on is on HR consultancy, where it's not statutory HR that we do learning and development. Okay, that is, if there's a mid-sized company that has a large number of staff, and they have a huge attrition rate of say 60% or 70%, and they don't know what to do with that. They have a good business model, but they don't know, because of staff issues and attrition issues. So they come to a company like us, and we set their complete HR process and systems, including creating the structure of the organization, how to conduct meetings, review meetings. We set the entire process. We train the managers for managerial skill. We train the staff on sales skills, and we equip them, and after a year we get out. So this is what we do. These are, currently these are our main areas. Now, when I spoke to Nasif, he told me that majority of the students, majority of the audience is going to be students. So I mentioned to him that, being in recruitment, I have conducted thousands of interviews. I have sat with clients to conduct interviews. I have done shortlisting interviews. So I've got immense experience of, what is required in an interview, or what is the expectation of the interviewer. And over the years, especially in Kerala, I have noticed that irrespective of how much we tell candidates, the importance of your appearance, it is not being done. Here, I would like to touch on certain aspects in regarding to communication. So I'm sure all of you are already aware that we have verbal communication, and then we have non-verbal communication, which is, body language and eye contact. Both verbal and non-verbal is very important. But in an interview, what you need to understand is that you have exactly 5 to 10 minutes to prove to the interviewer that you are capable and you have the capacity to earn 50,000 or 60,000 rupees per month salary. And you also need to understand the interviewer also has maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes maximum to decide whether you have the capacity to take 50, 60,000 rupees every single month. So both the parties have exactly 5 to 10 minutes. So it's extremely important, if the candidate is seriously interested in the job, to understand the importance of body language, how you walk into, for the interview, the confidence that you display when you walk in for the interview, even how you shake hands, the firmness in which you hold the hand. Smile. I keep telling candidates, you need to smile, because the minute you smile, you create an instant relationship with the interviewer, whoever it is. And then the way you sit, you have to sit in a way that you show interest in the job you're going for. So body language is even more important than your verbal communication, because you have only 5 to 10 minutes to prove your capabilities. And when you talk, you need to speak legibly. It has to be crystal clear. And honesty is very, very important, because most interviewers, the minute if they identify that you are dishonest on anything, you will be dropped that moment. So these are some of the pointers I wanted to, share with you because of my experience in interviews. Then in regarding to, I'm sure some of you all have plans to become an entrepreneur later on in life. I'm assuming that majority of you all are MBA students or BBA students. So please, first, you need to create value for yourself. You need to gain experience. And once you create value for yourself and you have earned through hard work, you have earned an income, then you experiment with entrepreneurship. Because there is a lot of hard work and there is a lot of pain involved in being an entrepreneur. And you cannot risk, somebody else's money. You need to go through that experience before you become an entrepreneur. And my experience has taught me that the greatest qualities an entrepreneur needs to have is, one, the quality of resilience. That is the capacity to stand up and run no matter how many times you fall. And the second quality which I see is extremely important is your relationship skills. We're not talking about IQ here anymore. We're talking about EQ, emotional quotient, your capacity to act, react, and behave with people. And that is what is the foundation of business, your capacity to create relationships with people. So these are the two main qualities which I have seen, or through my experience has shown me what is important in entrepreneurship. And now, last of all, I would like to, touch on the COVID scenario. I have been, answering a lot of questions in regarding to what do we need to do during the COVID season. I've got entrepreneurs asking me, what do we do? What do we do? I have only one thing to say, okay? The scenario doesn't look great, but you have to be positive. One is you need to conserve cash. You need to cut cost wherever possible. Cash is king during bad times. You need to go through your balance sheet or your P&L account item by item. You need to ask yourself, do I need this? Do I want it or do I need it? If it is a want and it is not a need, you can actually cut that cost. You need to ask yourself, the receivables that you have, are they real receivables? Maybe the receivable is not a receivable anymore. You need to ask yourself, how are you going to survive in the market? Is there a market for your product today? And most of all, you need to identify new revenue streams, because the scenario has changed, the scenario will change, and business is not normal anymore. The commitments that you made during normal times does not apply during abnormal times. And right now the scenario is abnormal. So everything will change. But keep positivity. Understand that with every crisis, there are new opportunities, and it is your capacity to be able to identify those new opportunities. So with this, brief introduction in regarding to, my story and also my experience in regarding to interviews, because, when Nasif told me that majority of y'all are a student community, I thought I should share this with you. I'm open to taking questions, so I'll just go through the Q&A here. 1 minute. I have the first question is from Dr. Rajeshwari. Madam, in your point of view, do you think the universities should change the system that the colleges should focus on practical experience than classroom learning? Dr. Rajeshwari, I'm 100% with you. I believe the entire education system needs to change. What is happening today is the entire focus on today's education is on IQ and the kind of marks that you can get in your subjects. Everything is attached to that. The fact is, reality has changed, our environment has changed. We are teaching our children today how we were taught, but that will not work anymore. So the whole methodology of teaching has to change. In fact, the ratio has to change. Teaching should be activity-based. 70% activities and only 30% theory. And it is through activities, through clear activities which have a learning objective. And it is through these activities, training and learning should happen. This is my experience, and our children, please do not underestimate our children. They're extremely smart. They have the capacity to learn, but we have to choose the right method to teach them. And the method that is being followed in schools today does not work. And this is my experience being in the field of training. It has to be activity-based learning with clear objectives. I will move on to the next question. We have Jibin Jose. How can we do self-selling in the best way, especially for a fresh BTech graduate? Jibin, first, you need to learn how to sell yourself. Selling skills is extremely important. It's not just for an entrepreneur. It is for everybody, whether you're a professional or even somebody who is going for a job interview is selling himself. So he needs to have those selling skills. And the best way to pick up on selling skills is attend sales programs. Just attend training programs. And if you cannot attend the training program, at least download. There are multiple programs that are available on the internet in regarding to selling and sales. Download those programs and learn. You have the time now. You need to build skills, and you need to build skills that are of use tomorrow, in the next coming years. And selling skill is a basic skill. Please learn how to sell, and that will create value for you. This is a question from Karthik. I must appreciate your open and frank experiences and remarks on various aspects. Instead of sugarcoating the words, you're blunt. Karthik, I have explained, or I have given you a gist of my experience. And I firmly believe that it is only through mistakes and through failures that we learn more and more and more. So instead of me pointing out my successes to you, I decided that I should point out, some of the failures that I have gone through, because it is through the failures that I have learned, and I wanted to share my learning with you. So I also thank you for your appreciation. Yes, I do training programs, and a lot of people have told me that I'm extremely blunt. So sometimes it's not, it can be looked at negatively also. But I believe in being blunt because learning happens only when you are blunt. And I have to tell you facts the way it is, otherwise you will not learn. Thank you. The next question is from Anju Annie George. Hi, may I know how do you plan for the various kind of trainings as per the requirements of the various industrial verticals? And how do you manage with trainers specialized in various fields to train the candidates? Anju, first, let me explain to you that all my training programs are focused on the core individual. For me, training is about increasing your self-confidence and your self-esteem first. So all my sessions will focus on the individual. So once I increase your self-confidence and your self-esteem, which is 80%, the remaining 20%, which is subject matter, that is easy. That will automatically get done. In fact, training is not information sharing. You have Google for information. You want information on any subject, you just Google it and you will get information. Training is not about information sharing. Training is transformation. I would like to transform you. I would like to increase your self-confidence and self-esteem to a level that you believe that you're capable, and automatically the remaining 20%, which is subject matter, you will automatically do. There's another question, he's not put his name. How can a fresh graduate create value in the post-COVID period? That's a tough question. Now, even though you are a fresh graduate, what I truly believe is if you spend your time in the right manner, what I mean by right manner is success depends on how you spend your time, how you choose to spend your time. You choose when to get up, when to sleep. You choose what to study. You choose, whether you need to waste the day, or you choose whether you want to upgrade your skills. So how you spend your time depends, is what is going to determine your success or not. So if you're a fresh graduate and if the job scenario is not looking great for you, okay, all I can tell you is this much. One, upgrade your skills. What I mean by skills is upgrade your self-confidence, your self-esteem, work on your selling skills, work on all the soft skills that you possibly can, and simultaneously keep looking out for the kind of jobs or the kind of profession that you're looking for. And when you do both simultaneously, what happens is even without your knowledge, your entire personality will change. But like I said, spend time in the right place. This is a question from Akshay. How can I increase my EQ? That's a very interesting question. Now, EQ, what is EQ? It's emotional quotient. And in today's environment, multinationals, they look for EQ more than they look for IQ. They look for AQ. So that is adversity quotient. So we got EQ, we got AQ. EQ is, yes, your relationship skills, how well you can create relationship, how you act, behave, and react with other people. That is EQ. AQ is adversity quotient, your ability to handle a crisis. So in today's scenario, yes, EQ and AQ has more relevance. And how do we increase EQ? It comes from the quality of, if you are an empathetic person, if you're sensitive, if you build those qualities. Let me first tell you that leadership skills, okay, being empathetic is a leadership skill. Leadership skills are not, they're not born in somebody. Leadership skills are made. So you can work on improving your leadership skills, which includes being empathetic, being friendly, being kind. And when you improve on those skills, what happens is automatically your relationship skills will increase. How can I, so next question, how can I create first impression in a meeting or in an interview? I think I covered that in the session. When you walk in, first is your appearance. You need to dress up for the job you're getting, not for the job you have, which means you need to understand the company that you are going to. You need to find out about the company. You need to see pictures about their branches. You need to see how the staff there are dressed. So always dress up. So appearance is extremely important. Clean shaven is good, well-kept hair, full sleeve shirt, light colored shirt, black pants, shoes. And then how you walk into the interview cabin, the confidence you display when you walk in, and then you shake hands, and then you smile. Because when you smile, what happens is you form a relationship instantly. Now, the problem is when we walk in for an interview, we are so nervous that we forget all this. So that is why I say you need to prepare for an interview. You need to sit with your friends multiple times and role play the interview, where all these points become extremely important. Good evening, ma'am. This is from Abhinav. You mentioned about EQ and resilience. Ma'am, how can EQ be developed and enhanced, and how to develop meaningful relationship? Okay, Abhinav, I think I covered a part of that in my previous answer. But let me say that if you believe that you can create relationships through WhatsApp, I'm sorry, you cannot. Two people need to meet. We need to look into each other's eyes with eye contact. You need to feel each other's voice tone. And all this emotional aspect is what is going to create relationship. WhatsApp is an excellent tool in business for coordination and follow-up and monitoring, but it is not a tool for relationship building. This is my experience. The reason I spoke about WhatsApp is, all of you are youngsters, and I'm sure, you are continuously on social media and WhatsApp and Instagram. Yes, you can coordinate, you can monitor, you can do a lot of work through WhatsApp, through the social media, but for relationship building, you need to have that person-to-person, human-to-human contact. This is a question from Ellen. According to the current situation in India, India is going to face a recession. Being a final year student, if it is a question, yes, Ellen, I do believe that there will be, a setback in terms of jobs and in terms of, yes, we are seeing a recessionary trend in India, but I totally believe in the resilience of our people. I totally believe that the people here have that extra spark, and I totally believe that we will overcome this, and it's not going to be long term. We will come out of this. This is my personal belief.
Hi, Anisha ma'am. So I think we have completed all the questions. Thank you so much for the wonderful talk. And to all the participants, if you have any questions, you can put that in the Q&A section below the box. So if you have any queries, you can ask now.
I was just reading through the questions here. There are many more questions, but I don't think I'll be able to answer all of them. So I think maybe the time is less. But if
we can consolidate all the questions, ma'am, and I can send it to you so you can give the answer. So we can put that in our website so students can go through that and it will be easier for them.
Okay, sure. So I think that will be a more efficient way of doing it. So we can go ahead and we can do that. No problem.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much for joining such a wonderful and inspiring talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you and goodbye. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. So participants, tomorrow we'll be having a talk by Joffin. The time is 2 o'clock, and you can refer the website for more details. Thank you for joining for today's webinar. Meet you tomorrow. Thank you.